Hi, good morning. Today I'll just run through how you can do the calculator project. So it might be a very long lesson. So I'll just run through how we prepare. So make sure you choose Visual Basic, Window Forms, and browse. Make sure you save it in a place where it is easier for you to know. Alright, so I'll call this calculator project, calc project. Alright, now once we start this project, what we do is we need to set up to know what are the things that we want for the calculator, but it's good to also start slow, not to go too fast, because we might have too many things and they might give us issues later. But anyway, let's start with the 9 numbers first, provided then to carry on with the others. Alright, let's just make this calculator a little bit bigger. Alright, buttons. Let's have a few buttons. Okay, let's have this button 1. We just call it number 1. Then after that we can copy and paste, select this, copy and paste, and align them properly, and I can call this number 2. And after that come back, copy paste, I can call this number 3. And after that I can select 3 of them and copy and paste, but just take note that normally button 4 becomes here, which is a strange way of convention, but anyway, just be careful to make sure that your button 4 is number 4 and your button 5 is for the number 5, and after this the text is for button 6. After this, of course, we can create some copy and paste. This time around it should be okay. This should be 7, button 7, it goes to number 7. Then after that, button 8 for number 8, and button 9 for number 9. Of course, after this, you need a button for 0. Alright, so we just call it 0. Then of course we can create a text box here. Let's just draw a text box somewhere here. Alright, so text box, scroll bar, the text, let's leave it as 0. Normally we have 0 at the start of our calculator. The font, just make it font 12 maybe. It should be a bit bigger for us to see. Alright, and it should be right align. So text align, just change it to the right. Alright, so you can see all this now. For all these buttons, we can now push it slightly up a little bit so it doesn't collide with the bottom. Alright, after 0 we shall have maybe, normally they have a decimal. Okay, let's just call this maybe decimal. Yeah, okay, decimal. I'll just put a dot there will do. And this, we can call it a clear. We can use this to be a clear button if you want it that way. Alright, let's make all these buttons slightly bigger so that later on it's more, it'll be better, so you can see better. Alright, so this is how it looks like. So number 1, let's start with placing the number onto the text box first. So if I press number 1, then I would require number 1 to appear here. So what I do is this, I double click on number 1. So when the user click number 1, then text box 1 dot text, that means the text in text box 1 should appear to be 1. Alright, let's see whether it works. Alright, as it's coming through, It's building up the whole, this for the first time it's building the project, so it tends to be a little bit slow, but later once the files and the folders are done, it should be much faster. Alright, now we have number 1. Let's test number 1. Alright, but if I click 1, it continues to be 1. So I must be able to have more than 1 if the content is not 0. Alright, so let's test. If text box 1 dot text is not 0, not equal to 0, or maybe if it's equal to 0, then we just put text box 1 equals to 1. Alright, if it is equal 0, else, that means it's not 0, it can be any number, then text box 1 dot text will be equals to whatever is in the text box 1 dot text. Add 1 to it. Let's see whether it works. Alright, so if the text box 1 is equal to 0, then when I click onto 1, it will show me a 1. Else, if the text box 1 is not 0, then it will add on number 1 at the back of 1. Alright, seems it's working. Alright, let's do another one for button 2. So you realize button 2 is more or less the same thing. So if text box 2, let's just copy the whole chunk and put it here. If text box 2 dot text is 0, then text box, oh sorry, it should be text box 1. Alright, sorry, text box 1 dot text is 0, then it will appear to be 2, else you just add on 2. Let's just test and make sure it is doing fine. Alright, so if it is 0, it will appear 2 when I click 2, else you just add on to the number. Alright, so you realize now 1 and 2 is okay now. So if I were to do for all 9 of them, then wouldn't it be a bit long, you see? So normally when things are repetitive, what we do is that we might want to take time to create a number that we, a subroutine. So maybe let's try out, okay? Let's try out to create a subroutine that we can use. So following the same manner, we create private sub. This subroutine, let's just call it input number. Input NO. Then after that, okay, input number, what is the thing that we want to put in? It is just the number. We just try num. Alright. So input number, when we put in input number and the number is 1, then let's just copy all this and just put it, cut the whole thing and put it here. So now if text box 1 equals to 0, then text box 1 dot text will be the number that we put in. Else, okay, let's just put the num. Else if text box 1, else if it's not 0, then text box 1 will have text box 1 dot text, whatever is inside there, plus the number that has already been done. Alright, so how can this replace this whole chunk? Let's see how many lines are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, there are 5 lines. Now, by deleting all these 5 lines, 5 times 9, which probably be 45 lines now, we can reduce it. The 5 lines will just appear one time in this subroutine called input number. So let's try button 1. If they put in button 1, then we'll call this subroutine called input number, and the number should be 1. So what happened is that they will take this 1 and put it inside here and run the subroutine. If text box 1 is 0, then they'll input number 1. Okay, let's try number 2. What if we put 2 here? Alright, does it work? We have to try out. Alright, as we are testing out, let's see what happens when we click 1. When we click 1, they will run this subroutine input number 1, and you'll come here to look for input number, and what is the number that we are inputting, which is 1. So all the NUM will be replaced by 1. Let's see whether it works. Okay, how about 2, 3, 5? So obviously there's something wrong here. We can, they are adding on the number. So we might want to put it as a string. So instead of plus the thing, we might want to put a string number. Let's see whether it works. Alright. Because now they took it as it's an integer and they add on the integer. Alright, so it's not successful. Of course we won't go on. Alright, so string cannot be used. Let's put the string in front and see if the string is better if I put the string in front. Alright. So what happens is that the input number should be a string, num as string, sorry. Num as a string. Alright, let's see whether it works. Let's compile and see whether it works. Okay, so now when I click 1, 1 will be taken as a string and you're putting here. So it's not a problem. Now the most important part is this. Can I get 1 to add in here? 1 plus 1. Alright, so now 2 shouldn't be a problem also. Alright, so this is what we want. Now we can do the same thing for all the other buttons. Since they are all done up, let's just choose all the buttons. You can choose them one by one. Okay, or you can, you can choose them one at a time, or you can choose them one shot. Double click all of them, and you see that all of them comes up. So right now I can just put in input number 2. So this is button 8, so I choose it to be 8. This is button 5, I choose it to be 5. This is button 4, I change it to 4. This is button 7, I change it to 7. And this is button 3, so I change this to 3. And this is button 6, so I change it to 6. And after that, if I move down, this is button 9, so I change it to 9. All these will be strings. Number 10, remember it's a 0. Alright, so let's start and see. Now by putting all this, you realize you cut down on a lot of numbers. So 2, 3, 6, 5, 4, 7, 8, 9, 0. Alright, so now we have all these numbers that we want. Let's move on to maybe the clear button at the moment. Alright, how about the decimal? Alright, decimal, let's just do it also. Input decimal. Let's see whether it works for decimal. Oh, there's a build error. So input number, we cannot put a decimal. So how about try this. So we can put 23.32. Okay, let's try the clear first before anything has clear. That means we just put text box 1 dot text equals to 0. Okay, this to clear everything. If I put decimal 2, 3, there'll be error because I cannot just put in a 0 if text box 1 dot text equal to 0, so there'll be an issue. So stop all this. So, so if I want to click 0 dash input number 0. So why not let's just add in whatever is here. Text box 1 dot text equal whatever is in the text box 1 dot text add decimal. That should be very simple. Whatever is in the text box 1, we just add a decimal to it. So 0, if I click dash, yeah, it should come out. Oops, yeah, 0. So how can I get a 0 to be there? So 0.9, you will keep 0.9, it will become 9. So this is something that maybe I'll leave it to you to work out, see how do you want to add in the decimal. This is part 1. We'll do the part 2, which is the operations in a minute's time.